The number one thing I hear from new community creators is I want to do it right the first time. And picking the right community platform for you is one of the most crucial decisions you can make. You don't want to invest all of your time, energy, and even more importantly, your members' energy only to realize that you need to change to a different home 9 months later. But maybe you're not a new community builder. Maybe you've already tested your community in Kajabi or Circle, but you're second guessing your decision and kind of getting a little bit of FOMO, feeling like maybe you made the wrong choice. This video will either give you confirmation that it's time to renew your vows with the community platform of your choice or officially file for divorce papers. In this video, I'm going to give you the nitty-gritty on two very popular community platforms to build on, Circle and Kajabi. If we haven't met yet, my name is Leever. I'm the CEO and community strategist over at Ember, where I help coaches, consultants, and creators build, launch, and grow thriving online communities. Hit subscribe if you haven't already to get my hot takes and the best of community building strategy. Over the last 5 years, I've supported hundreds of communities in coming to life online. I've walked side by side with dozens of community creators and been in the weeds in these types of tools for longer than I care to report. And I can tell you exactly what headaches you're signing up for today, 3 months from now, and even 5 years from now, all based on the decision that you make today. Now, this video is a little bit longer, so stick with me because every minute that you spend watching this video is going to save you days, if not weeks, if not months of headache and challenges in the future. So do your due diligence now and do the thing that your future self will thank you for. But make sure you stick around all the way to the end because you'll kind of clue in. But one of these platforms, I've actually never had a client request that I build on for them. And the other community platform is the platform that I build on the most frequently. I'm going to tell you which one's the winner at the very end. But let's dive right in. So first, I want to start with who Kajabi is for, because each of these platforms comes out of a very specific environment. And when you understand the context under which this product was created, it makes a lot more sense who they intend to serve in the long run. Now, I want to introduce a matrix, which is part of a free masterclass that I offer called The 4 Types of Communities. I'll link to it in the show notes in case you want to do a deeper dive. But in it, we explore the differences, strengths, and challenges between these 4 types of communities. Why I'm showing you this is because every community has a combination of education and connection. What I mean by education is there is an intentional learning journey. Networking communities, on the other hand, are where the primary value of the experience comes from interactions between your members. Now, Kajabi is squarely in the transformative community space. It is a tool built for education centric environments because Kajabi is essentially a learning management system with good community features, but it is first and foremost a learning management system. Circle, on the other hand, is a community platform that has good education features. So for communities that are clearly connection centric, the main value of the community that's being positioned for your members is that they're going to get to interact with other members and derive value through those interactions. If that's you, Circle is hands down a better fit than Kajabi because Kajabi is just not built for that use case. Just because your community is education centric doesn't necessarily mean Kajabi is the better fit for you, because what I've found is a lot of times there's quite a bit of play between the education to connection ratio. And you might start with, hey, right now we are 80% education and 20% of the value is coming from connection, with the goal that over time and as the community grows, it's actually going to flip and be 80% connection centric, 20% education centric. You've got communities, really mature communities that have like a pretty even distribution. I go into a lot more detail on this concept in the masterclass, so this is like kind of killing me to not do all of that here. So make sure you go watch that. But for all intents and purposes, if your community is connection centric, Circle's just hands down going to be the better option. If it's education centric, we have a little bit more discussing to do between Circle and Kajabi. Next, let's talk about the dark side of Kajabi, what I don't like. So what I don't like about Kajabi is they have like each of their use cases is kind of like its own separate product. So they have Kajabi Community is a product. Your Kajabi course is a product. They have this suite of products, but they all kind of stand alone in their own ecosystem. And even though there's a landing page where you can see like any and all of the products that you are like subscribed to, so like technically it's all in the same login, but it still feels like a very fractured ecosystem and experience. Like each product kind of lives in its own space. So while people are attracted to Kajabi because they're like, oh, all of this can like live in one home, functionally for your members, it doesn't necessarily feel like a very symbiotic home. Like it doesn't feel like the course leads to the community and the community leads to the course. It still gives fractured ecosystem, even though as the admin, you feel like it's all in one because like all of the backend stuff is in one place. But for your members, it's still giving decentralization. Circle's user experience, on the other hand, is much more integrated. So it feels like one cohesive home. Circle's UX is dominated by a really simple left-hand sidebar where you can host spaces. So you can have a space for your course, you can have a space for events, a space for discussion, a space that operates a little bit more like a landing page. So Circle's community experience as like the community as the ecosystem is much more integrated. Inside of Kajabi's community platform, the UX is really centered around this idea of challenges, which makes a lot of sense considering that most folks are building their community as a way to activate people around their course. So Kajabi has really been known for their flagship product was their learning management system, and the community kind of came on the tail end of that. So if you consider what people who are running courses need, it's like they need the community to activate around their content. And a really effective way of doing that is challenges. So in some ways, they did you a favor by lining up the UX to serve your members in that way. But if you're going into Kajabi like, oh, this is my like community solution where people like can connect with each other and we can set up like matching between members and meetups, like some of that functionality exists, but I will say that the community UX is really designed around the activation of the course content. If I really had to distill it down, I think the thing for me that kind of irks me about Kajabi is it's starting to tiptoe into this like really all inclusive, like all in one, like really broad definition of what all in one means. They want to be the one stop shop, the one solution for creators. And it's easy as a creator who is like, God, I'm going to need like my email service provider tool and a CRM and a community platform and X, Y, and Z. Like, it's really alluring to start to be drawn into all-in-one platforms, especially when those all-in-one platforms expand beyond community features into promising things like we'll be your website, will be your email newsletter, will be your lead magnet funnels, and we'll nurture people for you. And while those features do exist, they are not optimized. And we get into this territory of doing too many things and not doing any of them really well. To be honest, Circle is kind of starting to do this too. Like they have robust features that they've introduced around their email and landing pages. And while it's an okay solution for creators who are just starting out, for those who have developed really robust ecosystems for their business, you're really going to be sacrificing a lot of the high end features that are going to come with having a dedicated tool for each of these really core areas of your business. So, like Circle's email service provider, like email features are in no way going to be able to compete with Kit's, like all of their automations and workflows and like lead magnet landing pages. Like Circle can't compete with that. So it's like a pretty good tool for just starting out, but especially for more mature, more developed creators, don't get lured in by the promise of being able to consolidate all of these things, because I promise you, you're going to miss a lot of those features, which for some people, that sacrifice is worth it. And for others, if they're continuing to grow, you can't really compromise on the details of optimization for the tool. Okay, but let's move on to what I don't like about Circle. So With Circle, my main beef is if you use it, you're going to pay for it, which Kajabi actually isn't any better. So Kajabi has been around for much longer. They're a giant in the space. And a general rule of thumb is whoever the newcomer on the block is, you're probably going to get more bang for your buck with them because they're coming up against the established authority. They're the underdog. So they're usually willing to give you a little bit more from what you're paying for. That being said, Circle, the days of Circle being the underdog are kind of gone. So their pricing structure reflects that. If you see a feature in Circle and you want it, you're going to pay for it. Let's talk a little bit more about the side-by-side comparison of Circle's business plan and Kajabi's growth plan, because these plans are both marked at $199 a month currently, so they're pretty easy to compare. Both of these plans have courses, landing pages, email features, community features. With Circle, you get an API. With Kajabi, you don't. That's important to know because I've found the API is one of the main things that people need to expand into. If you use any third-party tool to collect payments like Stripe, Kajabi takes 1% of those payments. So Kajabi is, again, they're kind of a forerunner. They have like their own payment processing system. And of course, they want you to collect payments through their payment processing system. So if this gets particularly sticky when you have creators who are migrating from somewhere else and they maybe are already collecting payments in Stripe. So just be sure to take that into consideration. Kajabi gives you 10 admin, but Circle only gives you 5 at this plan level. Both give you automations, but Circle gives you custom CSS for this plan and all of their plans, and Kajabi doesn't give you CSS even up to this growth plan. It's like the next plan you get custom CSS. So Kajabi definitely has like a tighter hold on the branding experience. Like you don't unlock removing the Kajabi logo and white labeling until farther along in the plans, and Circle you get access to that a little bit sooner. The main difference that I think people feel most quickly between these two pricing structures is that Circle has no limit on the number of members for any package, but Kajabi has a limited number of members for each package. So overall, Kajabi is going to force you to upgrade sooner than Circle will, in my opinion, if your community is working. And that's because you will either need to upgrade for specific features or you will need to upgrade just because your community is growing, which is great, but sometimes can feel really painful to have to pay more just because you're doing well and not necessarily getting more features from it. So it's just something that you have to know and be prepared for. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, between Kajabi and Circle, I have built more than 40 communities on Circle, and that is like one-on-one in the weeds in Circle, navigating the tool and the experience. I go into a lot more detail on some of the execution pieces of Circle in my comparison video with Circle and Heartbeat, because those are the two platforms that I build in most commonly. However, I've never had a client who has asked me to build in Kajabi. The only time that I've worked with Kajabi is when we have clients who are migrating away from Kajabi. That doesn't necessarily mean that Kajabi is a bad tool or that I would never recommend it. It just means that most of my clients are approaching the community that they're building from a deeper connection between education and connection. And again, where Kajabi is really carved out their niche is in education-centric spaces. And often my clients really want more play between the two, and they want one centralized home for everything. And even though Kajabi kind of promises that, it still feels like a fractured ecosystem. So I'll leave you with this. If you are building an empire around you, your brand, your knowledge, first of all, you go, girl. If that's you, Kajabi could be a great tool for you, but definitely get in there and test it out yourself. If, on the other hand, you know you want to create an ecosystem where value is being created by the interactions between your members, Circle is definitely a more confident choice for you. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about Circle versus Kajabi, and to see my full platform comparison, detailed breakdowns of Circle versus Kajabi versus Mighty versus Heartbeat versus School, you can download that resource with the link in the show notes.